Here we go. Yes. I'm excited about this, everyone. I'm super excited. I don't know if you guys are excited, but I'm excited. I am. We're going to do this. Here we go. And let's see. I'm just going to give this a couple of minutes. Some of you this may be your first time using Zoom. I love Zoom. It's a great way to communicate. It's a great way to do video. And I'm a pretty animated person, but for Zoom, for this webinar, I actually have a PowerPoint that we're going to go through, which is really funny because PowerPoint's very like professional and right. And I mean, that's sort of not my style all the time. Yes. So the other really fun thing about Zoom is I'm going to be recording this. Actually, it's recording now. So this will be available after we're done. So for any of you that missed part of it, if you have to jump off, don't worry. There will be a recording because sometimes when I get excited, I talk fast. And if there's also a chat portion here. So somewhere, if you're on a phone, you can touch the screen and go to like participants or something. There's a chat portion where you can type in if you have a question. Or if you are on your computer, it's just on the bottom bar part where you can type in a question. So you just click on the chat here and you can type a question. And you can have it so that everyone will see it. You can set it so that only I will see it or only another person will see it, whatever you want. But if you guys do have questions, I'll be kind of pausing throughout the webinar to check the questions just to see if you guys have anything specific that you want me to cover or talk about. Yes. So who's excited? This is going to be fun. I'm going to deep dive into a little bit more info for women. If you've seen some of my videos that I do, I really like to cover a specific topic during a video and kind of spend some time on that. But that's really a little bit more surface level. So what this is for, the purpose of this is to really just spend some more time on hormones, on nutrition for women, and really have more of a conversation about it. So we're gonna jump in here. I know I was gonna leave a couple more minutes just in case people are still kind of popping on, which is good. And then, of course, some of the things I'm gonna be doing are gonna be sharing my screen. So I'm also not a super techie person, but I'm gonna be jumping back and forth between this and my PowerPoint where we're gonna be talking about stuff. So a little bit about me. I am Dr. Beth Westy. I am a chiropractor by training. I'm also a women's health expert, best-selling author, speaker, and I spend a lot of my time just educating women and really promoting the message that you can use your nutrition to get the most out of your health. So it's very, very different for women when they start following a nutrition plan that's really meant for their bodies. I got really passionate about this. Let's see, my youngest she's almost 8. So it will be at least 7 years ago is when I started to deep dive into nutrition stuff for women and really search for some answers. So I'm from Eagan, Minnesota. I grew up, which is just south of St. Paul. I grew up at a small goat farm. I grew up, showing goats in the fair and doing all sorts of fun things like that. I was an athlete, three-sport athlete in high school, got a scholarship to play volleyball in college. From there, I went to graduate school. I went to chiropractic school where I also got certified in acupuncture, Eastern medicine. And I focused on, Eastern medicine for women issues, for fertility, for cycle issues, for hormones, that type of a thing. So that's where I really got interested in women's health. And it wasn't actually, and that was while I was in school. I had my first 2 kids while I was in school. Not smart, just saying. For those, or if you've been through graduate school or thinking about it or know people, that's not an easy schedule. And then I got done with school and bought a small clinic, and then found out I was pregnant again, right? So there was a lot of things that I kind of worked through, stress-wise, as a student, health-wise, you know, from being an athlete to, you know, trying to find the right nutrition for myself, even just, you know, learning about health and everything else. I felt like I was like a ping pong ball a little bit during that time in my life. And, you know, when I was an athlete in high school and through college, I had different coaches and I was on different teams. One of the things that was really frustrating was, can everybody hear me, by the way? Yes, nod, raise your hand if you can hear me. Yes, okay. If somebody says they can't hear. Sometimes if you pop off and pop on again, you can hear better, but I'm not sure why. Anyway, so I was on a lot of different nutrition plans as an athlete, and it was really, really tough. It was, I mean, I remember being told I couldn't eat fat. I remember being told I couldn't eat cheese. I couldn't eat, you know, all these foods. I would have a coach that would go around and like follow us into the lunchroom. You know, in between, we'd have double days, right? So we're practicing volleyball for like 6 to 7 hours a day. We're at practice, you know, preseason. And he would walk through the lunchroom, you know, the cafeteria, and would look at our tray and look at our plate and would take stuff if he thought we shouldn't be eating it. I had coaches that would make us step on the scale before we'd step on the court. And coaches that would tell us, you know, I had a coach tell me one time that I was 1% body fat too high to be a starter. And I was like, I'm like 19 and I have 21% body fat, and that's too much. They were like, yeah, our starters are at 20% or less. So you're going to need to work on that 1%. And I was like, I had other choice words, but so a really difficult time being an athlete and going through and trying to find the right thing, right? There was just a ton of crappy kind of plans that, you know, that I went through and that I was on. From there, you know, having babies and being in grad school, it was really tough too. There was a lot of different information that I tried to find. There was a lot of different things that I, you know, attempted. And after having kids, your body totally changes. There was not a lot I could do. So I didn't feel good. And then fast forward to graduating, having my third, and then, you know, we were done, you know, with our family, you know, so my husband, and we decided to, you know, I really wanted to focus on getting healthy, but I started getting ovarian cysts, and they were atrocious. I would be trying to, you know, treat patients, and I would have to like run into the back room in the office and crouch down on the floor because the cyst would burst. And I'd just be sweating and just in horrible pain. And the tough thing for me is that I'd already done, you know, so many things. I know a lot of you are feeling like that too. Like, oh my God, like I was gluten-free, dairy-free. I was taking all these supplements. I'm not kidding. Like I had like it had to be 30 plus supplements I was taking, right? And I was doing detoxes. I was doing all these things, yet nothing really nailed it. Nothing really took care of me getting cysts. And I was like, I don't understand. I'm so healthy. I eat really good. I'm taking all this stuff. I didn't have cysts before. Why is this happening to me now? Ugh! And that's when I really started to deep dive into Eastern medicine and really like focus more on women's hormones, women's cycles, and how the body works, and really started to shift how I looked at that. And then I started, you know, doing that for myself. So I went through a bunch of different shifts and changes in nutrition and everything else, and found that I could get rid of the cysts that I was having, and everything, and not have them return. And that's something that really kind of opened my eyes to, oh my gosh, a lot of women suffer from issues like this. A lot of women have problems after they have kids, or their hormones change, or they're under a lot of stress. And a lot of times you just feel like, oh, what am I doing wrong? You know, or I'm doing all these things. I am really focused on getting healthy, yet the results aren't there, you know, or I'm exercising a ton, and I eat healthy, but you know, my pants, they're still super tight. What the heck? You know, it can be things like that even that really frustrate a lot of women. So I really dove in and developed then a nutrition plan for women specifically. I do have a book where I cover a lot of the why behind the what. I know some of you have read it, but it really explains sort of the research and history behind everything. So because it is very different when we look at the history of nutrition and how it affects us, it's not really geared for men. So So that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I feel like, you know, I went through this, other women have gone through this, and now I get the absolute joy of working with women every day to help them work with their nutrition to make their health better, to get them to their goals, and to really just not be frustrated anymore, not feel hopeless on what you're moving through. So I'm going to go into a lot of that info today. And again, if you guys have questions, let me know. But so I'm going to do the share screen now, so you're going to see my PowerPoint that I made. So fancy. Okay. Also, let me know if this doesn't work for some reason. Because sometimes, you know, technology is not my super good friend. Well, that's a really, okay. So there's me. We already talked about me. Yeah. Yeah, so, these are a couple of testimonials from women. I can't tell you the amazing, amazing shifts and changes that I've been able to witness women go through. And it's across the board. Like, a lot of times people will think, oh my gosh, you're just thinking about or talking about, you know, dropping the scale. But it's not just about that. A lot of times when women are struggling and frustrated, you're really stuck with how you're feeling. And it's not just about the scale. It's about, oh my gosh, my pants don't fit. I don't have the energy. I feel like I can't even think straight. I feel toxic. I feel heavy. This isn't my body. I don't feel like myself in my body. And then feeling stuck and frustrated on even what to do. So the amazing thing I love about what I do is that I get to take women through this to really shift and change all of that. And feel stronger, feel healthier, feel better, and to see shifts and changes in everything. So that's some of the things. I'm going to tell a few stories at the end about some of the amazing transformations that I've been able to witness women go through. But just a few things to kind of think about, that you're not alone and that this doesn't just happen for you. So overall, when we talk about nutrition, I always like to cover a few nutrition basics because, again, like I said, so many times we're given like nutrition information and I'm like, that's not helpful or that doesn't apply to us, right? When you look at the history of nutrition, it's all geared towards men. So all these static plans, and what I mean a static plan is that the nutrition is the same kind of day in, day out. It is, you know, not that it's unhealthy, right? It can be a healthy thing, but it's the same day to day, week to week, month to month. And that's not how the female body works. Our bodies are meant to ebb and flow through different phases. Our bodies also respond differently to stress. So it's really important that we're addressing these things specifically for how the female body functions. So protein, fat, and carb, those are the basic nutrients to really focus on. When we look back and think about like who remembers like the food pyramid and all those other things, right? Like that's not helpful information that's really going to be gearing women towards healthier results. But protein, fat, and carb are really important, and I call them a complete nutrient when they're together because you're allowing your body to burn the fuel from them evenly and consistently. So carbohydrate is, you know, breads, pastas, fruit, everything else. Quinoa, potatoes, right? That's going to be burned anywhere from 5 minutes if it's just sugar, or even up to an hour. So that's how long you're going to get energy from carb. Protein, you're going to get energy from a protein anywhere from 2 to 3 hours, just depending on how fast your body goes through it. Fats, you'll get energy from fats up to 4 hours. So that's why when people talk about eating more frequently, eat every 2 to 3 hours, et cetera, you're consistently feeding and fueling your body. You're never letting that gas tank get empty. If you're letting the gas tank get empty, your metabolism slows down. So by eating evenly and consistently every 2 to 3 hours, even if you're not feeling hungry necessarily, you're going to be allowing your body to increase its metabolism on its own, which is really important for women. And it's really important to tell your body that you have a consistent eating plan so that it doesn't go into a depletion mode. Women's bodies are designed to store fat. And if it senses that there's any type of danger of any kind, it will store more fat. Like you could eat a salad, you could eat a piece of lettuce and it will store it. It will store all of it. The 2 calories from it, it will store. And that's if your body is in a protective mode and not really having a fast metabolism. So how do we get around that? This is one of the ways we work with that, is just getting the right type of nutrients implemented at the right times. So protein, fat, and carb at appropriate ratios at even amounts throughout the day. So really, really important. All these, nutrition recommendations are for men. Men lose weight differently than women do. Men can, this is the joke I tell, like, men can sneeze and fart and lose 10 pounds. Like, it just happens for them. And it's because their bodies are just designed differently. Their body hormones are the same day to day. It doesn't really change. So for them to shift something slightly, yes, it works. Also, men's bodies are not designed to store fat. They're designed to build muscle. Yeah, great. Thanks. That's good news, right? Yep. So they are really just totally different. So when you think about it, you're like, yeah, right? Like the physiology of men and women is so different. Why would it make sense that we follow the same plan as them? Because that's not going to get us the right result, right? Yeah. And it's so frustrating to go on a diet. How many of you have done this where you're like, oh, me and my significant other, we're going to get healthy together and we're going to go on this diet together, and you're following it. And he's like maybe doing some of the stuff. Yet in like 30 days, he drops like 2 pounds, or you drop 2 pounds and he drops like 20. Like, he still had pizza and beer and still lost more weight than you. And you're like, what the heck? It's because just how men and women are so different. And all these recommendations are made for men. I also talk about this. This is sort of fun information too. Every product that's produced in the US, it has to have a nutrition label, right? Those fun labels that give those percentages of nutrients, blah, 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 right? Those labels and the percentages on there are designed for men that are 44 years old and healthy. Mm-hmm. Yes, a 44-year-old healthy male. That is what that label is designed for and meant for, and those ratios and everything are for. So if you're not a 44-year-old healthy male, then it's not necessarily the right ratio for you. Great. Super duper. The other thing that kills me about that is that for those of you that do the grocery shopping in your household, have you ever seen a man look at a label? Like walking around the grocery store? I have not, right? Like my husband, he'll go grocery shopping and come home with like chips and, ice cream and stuff. And I'm like, come on, really? Come on. But he also doesn't look at the labels on anything. They just don't. So I think it's hilarious that that's who they're designed for. Anyway, so men and women, totally different physiology, and especially when we talk about muscle building and fat storing, completely different. Women gain muscle very differently than men do as well. Again, our bodies are not designed to build muscle naturally as quickly as males do. But for women, it's really, really important that we have enough lean muscle to really balance out our body composition. A lot of times when women follow a plan or a program that is a depletion plan, meaning you're restricting calories, restricting nutrients, you're either cutting fat or you're cutting carb or cutting protein or whatever it is, right? You might think, oh, look, great, I lost 5 pounds in a week, but really, where's that 5 pounds that you're losing? It's not fat, it's muscle. For women that lose weight really quickly like that, it's actually a really big warning sign that something's wrong. Something is not functioning correctly in the body. Muscle weighs more than fat, right? So it takes longer to build that lean muscle. But for women, if we are lacking in anything, our energies is going to drive right to that muscle tissue and use that muscle tissue. It's not going to go for those fat cells. That's the complete opposite in men. In men, when they're restricting something, their bodies will go to the fat cells and maintain the muscle. In women, again, totally opposite. Our bodies will use use muscle cells, use muscle for energy, and store and hold on to all that fat. Great, come on, right? So it's really important that we understand that difference so that our nutrition matches to combat that and to counteract that. And really focusing on building lean muscle. We don't, when our bodies are under stress, they don't produce the natural amino acids that the male body does, so that we can really maintain that lean muscle even. So these are some of the things like why women have struggled for years, why women are so frustrated and fed up, why it feels like, oh, everything that you're doing is not giving you the right result. It's because, it's really not set up for you to succeed long term. If you're stuck in the middle of the woods and you're trying to follow a map to get out, it's really important that you have the right map. Otherwise, it doesn't matter. You can have 15 maps. Great. But if you don't have the right map for you, you're not going to get out of the woods. So that's why I feel it's so important for women to learn how to eat for their hormones and how to get the right nutrition for their bodies and their physiology. So we are going to talk about that a little bit more here. I'm going to draw, if I like drawing. We're going to draw some, I'm going to draw the hormone cycle. Now, this is something, let me see if I can change this a little bit. Nope, that's not what I wanted to do. Sometimes you can change the view on your screen if you're like, oh, I want to view it like this. Speaker view, gallery view, anyway. So this here is I always start with this, right? Like everybody, you guys remember that one class you had like in 5th grade where they covered how, you know, you're changing body for like 10 minutes and then they were like, okay, see you later. And you're like, what? So you don't really learn anything about how your body functions or what happens unless you have an older sister, or maybe your mom talked to you a little bit, or maybe your friend's older sister or something. Otherwise, you learn mostly about your body from, you know, like commercials or TV shows or movies where they make jokes about how women's bodies function. So again, it's not helpful information that's actually going to, you know, give you any type of golden nugget that's going to help you move forward in the result. So overall, this is the cycle, days 1 through 28. Not every body is the same. Some women have a naturally shorter or longer cycle. For some women, they ovulate at different times, and it can be totally normal for you. Illness, injury, stress can also shift this pattern. Hormones and everything, or having kids, or miscarriage, or menopause, all these things I'll talk about. But in general, just for going through the information briefly, I'm going to talk about it in this 28-day pattern. The first couple of weeks, our body is a lot higher in estrogen. Now, I'm not an artist either, so this is just kind of an about, right? An approximate shift here. And then about day 14, when your body should ovulate, your body gets a lot higher in progesterone. So this is really, really important to to check out. You still have some progesterone here, it's just not as high. You still have some estrogen here, it's just not as high. But these two hormones do completely different things in the body. And it's good that they do. You know, progesterone literally means progestation. So it's designed to, you know, sustain a viable pregnancy every month, whether it's there or not. But that's what it is. So this is a really, really important thing to really understand. Basal body temperature, for those of you that remember have done some basal body temperature, whatever, it's lower here and then higher here. So we're going to talk about how that fits in with everything. And we want that ebb and flow. We want that shift and change, right? Our hormones don't necessarily change overnight either. It can take a few days for hormones to shift and change. Now, that's also an important piece to realize, because your body will shift those hormones also based on how fast you can metabolize them. Meaning, if your body's higher in estrogen, then all of a sudden you ovulate, but for some reason your body can't shift through and metabolize and process that estrogen, you're gonna still have higher estrogen leading into this phase here, which is gonna affect how well this hormone can do its thing and function in your body, which then carries into and pushes through here as progesterone is supposed to drop towards the end of your cycle, can't metabolize it and everything there. So a lot of women will get terrible, you know, PMS symptoms, or feeling like, oh my God, I just feel like I got hit by a truck. And I get that like all the time, right before my period or after my period or whatever. Oh my gosh, it's so awful. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty awful. Yeah, it is awful. And it's awful because your body's not metabolizing those hormones very quickly. So there's different things you can do to help work with that as well. But a lot of times you're thinking, oh, well, this just sucks. It just sucks to be me. And I guess that's what I have to put up with. It does suck, but you don't have to put up with it. There's a lot of things you can do around it to shift and change it. So, all right, let's talk about specifics with estrogen and progesterone again, because this is really, really fun, important information. And this is going to make a big difference overall, meaning Once you know more info about estrogen and progesterone, this just takes a second, by the way, if you're like, why is it just a blank screen? Yeah. Hydrating still today. Okay. Estrogen. What estrogen does in the body? It's going to increase your metabolism. It's going to increase your energy. It also increases your flexibility, which is kind of cool. It's going to decrease your recovery time, which means if you do a workout, a really tough workout, you're going to be sore for a shorter amount of time. That cell turnover rate is quicker. And it also burns carbs naturally. Estrogen, and it should be this way in your body, you should feel more energy. You should feel like you have better mental clarity. It's just a very different time. Now, again, it can be a little different for women, or if you're feeling like, well, I don't know if I necessarily noticed that. You just may have the entire cycle shifted off course a little bit because your hormones aren't balanced. And when I say balanced, I don't mean like even the same the whole month. I mean balanced in their normal ebb and flow. So that's an important thing to differentiate there. Estrogen also is a great time to incorporate a new habit, because anytime your body's higher in estrogen, they've actually done studies where they show women who start a new habit during the estrogen phase, they're more likely to keep up with it because your energy and your focus is so much more on point during this time, which is cool, right? I think it's cool. And then it burns carbs naturally. So carbs are a really important piece for the female body and for hormones and for how your brain functions, and carbs burn naturally here. So my favorite other tactic to add in at this point is actually to add in carb cycling. And that's going through a tapered variation of carbs day to day to actually really focus on getting your metabolism up and burning more carb. It's really, really amazing what you can do with your nutrition day to day. Again, not keeping it static. You're going to be shifting and changing it. And you're forcing your metabolism to work harder for you. You're not letting it get stagnant. You're not letting it acclimate and store things, because that's what our bodies naturally want to do. Well, great, but I don't necessarily want my body to store things all the time. Nope. So I'm going to use the fact that my body burns carbs naturally when it's higher in estrogen, and then I'm going to layer on top of that, throw in carb cycling as well to burn more of that carb and to teach your body to burn through sugars better. A lot of times when I chat with women about, nutrition plans, they get really frustrated with, oh, I tried this, that, or the other, but then when I went off of it, or I had this birthday party, or I went to my friend's wedding and I had some cake, then I ruined everything, or I threw everything off, right? Like you can't have a piece of cake, or you can't have a cupcake or anything, or a cookie, because then you ruin it. I'm like, well, one, that's no way to live, because cookies can be delicious. But two, your body's metabolism should be strong enough that it just can burn off that one cookie. Like if you are on a diet and you can't have 2 tablespoons of your favorite dressing, like ranch dressing, then that's not a sustainable diet. One, because it's not something you enjoy, but two, again, your body should be able to burn it off. It's not about that one little thing. You know what I mean? I mean, you shouldn't eat cookies all day long, but I mean, like you should be able to have a little bit here and there. It shouldn't be so restricted and constrained. And if it ruins it, again, that means that your metabolism is not where it should be. So just a few things to kind of think about when you're thinking about your metabolism and how your body burns through nutrients. But that's estrogen. So a lot of people like the estrogen phase. Then we move into the progesterone phase. This is after ovulation. Progesterone will rise. Now, things kind of shift for women at this point. It actually will decrease your energy. It's also going to slow down your digestive system. So a lot of times women notice, oh my gosh, I feel bloated. I feel totally sluggish. Why? Why does that happen? Because your digestive system is slower, because it's trying to hold on to every nutrient from all the food that you're eating. So it just brings it to a screeching halt, which you're like, oh, great. That's super duper. Yep. So because it does that, there's specific things you can do to help speed up your digestive system. So a lot of times I'll chat with women about throwing in, enough probiotic, digestive enzymes, enough fiber, right? Hydration. Your hydration is also very different during the progesterone phase, because it's important you're having some type of small amount of sugar throughout the day to make sure you're absorbing all that hydration into your cells. And that can affect your digestive system as well if you're not getting enough hydration in. So there's all these little pieces that can go into how well your body is processing and digesting food. Progesterone can also disrupt your sleep. It can be tougher to sleep. You can have bouts of insomnia or just not even a deep restful sleep. Also, when you're not having a deep restful sleep, it's going to affect how well your body can recover. Great, right? This is the point where sometimes I feel like I'm just delivering all this terrible news. So this point here is just going to be sucky. It is what it is. But there's things you can do around it, like making sure you're having a good sleep pattern, and if you need to take something like valerian or melatonin or something, right? Like okay, yep, I'm going to my progesterone phase. I'm going to be getting my stuff to help me sleep so that I can sleep better, right? Like women are planners, right? We're all like, if you know about this stuff and know how to counteract it, you're going to do it, right? Totally. So working with your sleep to make sure you're getting deep and restful sleep. Progesterone is also going to increase your recovery time, meaning it's going to take longer for you to recover from a tough workout. Sometimes even if you're just busy throughout the day, like you go to work, you run errands, and you come home and you're like, oh my God, I just need to sit on my couch. I can't even make dinner right now because I am exhausted. What is wrong with me? Nothing's wrong with you. It's just the progesterone. Yeah. But the one thing that progesterone does is it burns fat naturally. Yes. Your basal body temperature is higher at this point. When your body temperature is higher, you're in a naturally fat burning zone. Really, really exciting, right? Super, super exciting. So there's some different things that we can incorporate to tap into the fat burning zone of progesterone. And it is my favorite thing to add in at this point, intermittent fasting. There's a lot of different ways to do intermittent fasting. A lot of times when you say fasting, people will think, oh my God, that's not eating. I can't do that. I can't do that. It's not about not eating. It's more about just not letting your body go into full digestion for the day. So if you're doing a full 24-hour day, you're going to have little snacks built in there. You're drinking a ton of water, all these things, because you want to maintain your blood sugar. If you're not maintaining your blood sugar, the female body will see that as a stressful event and will shut down the metabolism, et cetera, right? Providing the opposite effect for what we want. So there's a 24-hour fast. There can be a 48-hour one, which I really take people through because that's a more intense thing. Or there's even just different daily schedules, different types of daily intermittent fasting that can be very, very helpful to really focus on that fat burning capacity that progesterone brings. This is a point where the female body is going to be focused on your body fat composition in a different way completely. So again, for a lot of women, you want to just lose fat or lose weight. The body doesn't necessarily work like that. For a lot of the things, it's more about, okay, let's build up that lean muscle. Let's really increase our metabolism. And then our body can focus on really burning fat differently. And I say differently because it's going to be more of a natural fat burn and not a struggle or a fight. So very, very specific way to target during the progesterone phase. Hormones and protein. Really, really important information about protein. I talk about protein so much because it is the #1 nutrient that I find women are lacking. The appropriate amount of protein for what your body needs and for what your goals are and for where your hormones are at. So you need 20 amino acids, and amino acids are what make up proteins, right? So your body only produces 11 of them naturally. And it produces those 11 if your body is in a healthy state. If you are stressed out, if you have hormone issues, if you are not sleeping well, your body will not produce those 11, right? So that means instead of just trying to get the 9 different amino acids from food, you're going to have to get more. Yeah. So having a variety of protein is important. It can be from meat, dairy, nuts, seeds, eggs, blah, 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 etc., right? But an important note here too, because again, a lot of women are afraid of eating protein. Don't ever be afraid of eating protein. It takes a minimum of 20 grams of protein to start protein muscle synthesis. So what does that mean? It means that your body uses protein in every single system. Every single system in your body uses protein. To have enough left over for your muscle tissue to build and grow and be strong, to help turn your body into more of a fat burning machine, you have to have at least 20 grams at a single serving. And that's just not 20 grams for the day. This is 20 grams at one serving, and then you're eating, say, 5 to 6 times a day. That's a lot of protein. So again, a different way to think about the body, because you're going to be focused on shifting your body composition. Now, again, when we talk about men and women losing weight differently, so for women, if you're thinking about this, okay, if I'm going to get more protein in and I'm going to be building more lean muscle, et cetera, what happens first for women in weight loss then? It's not the scale changing, because muscle weighs more than fat. So you're going to be building more lean muscle as your body's burning more fat. So the scale sometimes will either stay the same, or you might notice it increases by a pound or two in the first couple of weeks. Perfect. Why is that perfect? Because your body's building that lean muscle. And that shift in composition is actually focused then on the body fat percentage. That's what's coming down. That's a big deal when that happens. So it's not the scale that's going to change right away. We first notice a shift in energy, focus, sleep, all those things improve first for women, and then measurements change next. And that can happen at different rates for everybody. So this is where, I love to work with women more one-on-one, because I can help take you through, depending on what you've had happen in your life, in your health, all these other things, it will be a different journey for you than somebody else. And it's really important that you kind of have the correct time frame in mind. Otherwise, it's super easy to get frustrated with yourself to say, oh, I've been doing all this stuff. I've been eating more protein. Maybe I feel better. And yeah, I've got more energy, but I've been doing this for 3 weeks and I gained 2 pounds. What the hell? Great. That's great. I see that as great progress, because you probably dropped a couple of pant sizes. Funny side story. This was actually a girlfriend of mine. She had 2 kids. She was really struggling after her second kid to, fit back into her clothes and things. And she's like, I know I need to do healthier things, blah, blah, blah. So she started on the program and was eating a ton more protein. And right away, she was like that 2.5, 3 week mark in. And she called me and she was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was like, what? You've been doing so good. You've just been sending me all these messages that your energy is better. Your sleep is better. You feel amazing. Like, what? What's happening? She goes, I gained almost 1.5 pounds and I'm really frustrated and I just can't do it. And I was like, okay, but where are your measurements at? And she's like, I haven't even taken them because I'm so mad about the scale. I was like, dude, throw out the scale. Just take your measurements and then call me back. Because she took her measurements, like that's at the beginning, you take your measurements and everything, right? And she took her measurements and she called me back and she's like, holy crap, I lost over 6 inches. I was like, there we go. That's where your progress is. She's like, I didn't really even notice, because she's like, honestly, I felt so gross about myself that she was wearing clothes that were like baggier. So she's like, I didn't even notice that they were getting even looser, because they were all like kind of loose. She goes, but her husband was telling her like, oh my gosh, babe, you are slimming down. You are looking good. And she's like, I thought he was just lying to me. So she started a fight with him and was like, no, I'm not. You're lying. And I was like, well, go apologize, because he's right. You are making these big changes. And the really important thing about these changes is that they're going to be more of a lasting change, because you're changing your body composition. So it's not just something that's going to, oh, look, I lost 5 pounds real quick. It is, oh my gosh, I've got more energy. I've got more strength. All these other things are happening. So protein and estrogen. It is really important that you have the proper amounts of protein to balance your hormones. And again, when I say balance, it doesn't mean even all the time. It means you're going through that ebb and flow naturally. It's important what type of protein you get in for your body too. I always encourage, if you're doing meat, especially red meat, that you're getting a grass-fed meat. Otherwise, there can be an influence on the estrogen in your body that's negative. And also, you don't want your body to get stuck with too much estrogen. So your body not metabolizing enough of the hormone that causes a buildup. So that protein is really important to have the energy to metabolize and go through the estrogen and everything else. Protein pacing. Protein pacing is one of my favorite things to take people through, because it makes such a big difference right away. So this is just the fun thing of when we talked about getting at least 20 grams of protein in. You're going to be doing that 5 to 6 times a day and spacing it out in even increments. Again, that every 2 to 3 hours or so. And that way, by the end of the day, you're getting a ton more protein in. How much protein is right for you? It depends on what your goals are, where your body's at, where your health is at, where your stress levels are at, all of those things. For me, this is just an example, and I use myself as an example because it can be tough to kind of figure out for you and what you're doing and everything else. I'm a very tall person. I'm 6'2", and I weigh about 185 pounds right now. I'm playing football, right? That was another thing I forgot to talk to you guys about. I play football. I play women's full tackle football. So my goal is to maintain, if not even increase a little bit, my muscle mass so that I can be really tough out there. But I'm looking to get about 180 grams of protein a day, between 170 and 180 grams a day. That, for my goals, is where my target market is. If I am getting like half of that, oh, I have a huge decrease in energy. I have a huge decrease in my stamina. I have a hard time making it through a workout. It makes a really big difference. So what is right for you to start with and to move through as you progress is something that, I work with women individually, because it really makes a big difference in terms of the speed of your results. Just focusing on those different proteins throughout the day. And again, and protein can come from a lot of different sources. And I encourage that, to get that variety in, because you're going to get that fantastic blend of amino acids to help you build that muscle more evenly and efficiently. So I do have this 12-week program that I work with women on. I'm going to talk about that a little bit. Again, when I take people through this 12-week program, it is not just about the scale. That's always a part of it. But the other part is learning more about your body, learning more about how your hormones respond, and getting ahead of the game, being more proactive instead of reactive, instead of feeling like, oh, crap, I don't know what to do anymore. You're going to have all these tools and everything available to you to move forward and get the results that you want to get. And it's not just about doing this during 12 weeks. It's also about having these tools for the rest of your life. So this is going to be information that you're going to be able to use now, and 6 months from now, and a year from now, and 3 years from now. You're going to have so many tools available to you. You're never going to be in that stuck, frustrated place again. It is a meal guide. So this is just a little picture of what a meal guide would look like. Labeling things out there. There's also swaps in and out for people who are like, oh, I don't like fish. I don't want to eat fish at my office. Cool, don't eat fish. You can swap it for something else. There's a grocery list. It takes you through eating for your cycle, specifically working on those hormones. It takes you through carb cycling and different patterns of carb cycling, protein pacing, the right amount of protein for you specifically, intermittent fasting, which again, there's a lot of different types of intermittent fasting that we can work with. And then you also get that accountability. It's really important the accountability happens for you specifically, because that's going to keep you on track. So this is just a little picture I made about warming and cooling foods, because people are like, what's, warming and cooling? Estrogen is the cooling foods. Those chicken, turkey, fish, raw fruits and veggies, right? There's different ways to spice or season your food, so it's easy to stay on track. Again, it's not specific to you have to have your chicken cooked this way, blah, 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 blah. Whatever. If you like your chicken cooked a certain way, super duper, do it that way. It's really about choosing the foods that are right for you. And it's adaptable, it's flexible, it's family friendly. This is the way that I eat, and this is the way that my family eats. I have a husband and 3 kids, a boy and 2 girls, and we eat like this all the time. Side note, if your hubs does follow a healthier eating plan with you, no guarantee that he won't lose weight pretty quickly, because he most likely will. That's just probably going to happen. But that's how it goes, right? Anyway, but this does take you through a lot of different things here for women specifically with nutrition. A question I get a lot of the time too is, oh my gosh, is it bad if my husband does warming and cooling foods? No, it's not bad, because he doesn't have the underlying hormones there, so it's not going to have the same effect on him. The accountability piece of it too is really huge. I believe in working with groups of women at a time. Again, we have one-on-one connection, but then there's a group of women who are going through the same thing that you're going through. The success of the group equals the success of the individual. So a lot of times it's really frustrating just to be going through something different than the people around you. And you're like, why am I feeling such a freak? Why is this just not going right for me? Well, when you're in a group of other women that have hormone issues, oh my gosh, it makes such a difference. And it's going to be easier to keep on track, because they are going through the same things at the same pace as you, right? Women do work best in groups. So I love this quote, giving up on your goals because one setback is like slashing your other 3 tires just because you got one flat. And that's going to be true for a lot of this stuff. You're going to be making progress at in certain areas at different points throughout the program. You're going to increase in energy and everything, but maybe not drop it on the scale. And for a lot of people, that's really frustrating. But keep in mind, that's still progress. You have to take your body and really lay down a solid foundation of strength and of health And then you're gonna be able to make lasting changes. Because that's the thing that I'm all about. Is that if you are excited about stuff, or if you're like, yes, this is great, but I just want to lose 10 pounds as quick as possible, you know, that's not necessarily what I do or what I work with. Who is this for? This is for women of any age. This is for women who want to make a serious change, that you don't want to be frustrated anymore, and that you want this accountability. That's who this is for. This is really designed for women to take it to a different level, and to focus on you, and to get this, you know, set so that you're not dealing with this, like I said, a year from now. You're not going to be in the same spot again. Who is this not for? Not for men. I get asked that all the time. Oh, do you have a program for men? And I'm like, no, I don't work with men. I work with women. I spend all of my time and energy working with women because that is what serves them best. This is not for women looking for a quick fix. You know, if you're also doing something that works and you're like, well, I really love what I'm doing, great, then keep doing it. If you don't have any hormone issues, or you're not, you know, then okay, then this probably wouldn't be good for you either. Also not for those of you that wouldn't want to connect with me on a regular basis. Sort of I put a picture there of me because I'm sort of awkward. A little bit of an odd duck. So yes. So for, you know, the other thing about connecting with somebody is that you have to, you know, connect with them in a certain way, and to really be successful too. I firmly believe that. Again, connecting with a group of women and connecting with people really play a huge role in your success. That's a very big part of what I do and why I have this group set up like this. I do have a bonus as well. There's $150 savings for the program. The code is April50. So you can click on a link. You guys will get an email sent out. If I don't have your email address, you can message me. Either send me an email at drbethwesty@gmail.com or message me privately to let me know that, hey, I don't have this or that, you know, thing. I want the code. I want the link. Where do I get going? Ooh, good question. Yes. Okay, so I'm getting a question on menopause. Excellent question. So when we talk about women in menopause, one of the big things too is that your hormones are on a smaller scale. You don't have such a big variance of estrogen and progesterone. Let me just shift this for a second. Okay. So when we talk about menopause, and this is the same for if you've had a hysterectomy, or if you've gone through menopause just because that's the phase of life, or if you're on birth control or other things like that, a lot of times you're thinking, how, you know, I don't really have those hormones anymore, right? They're not going to be on the same scale, but they're going to be on a smaller scale. You still have some estrogen and progesterone, and your body's has been used to this ebb and flow throughout your entire life of shifting hormone throughout the month. So there's still estrogen and progesterone primarily produced by reproductive organs, but they're also produced by, you know, adrenal tissue, neural cell tissue, fat cells, some fat cells, things like that. So you can play off of them in a different way. And again, when we're really focused on the estrogen piece and say carb cycling, that's going to be really important to jumpstart your metabolism. Women who go through menopause, again, for any reason, whether it be, you know, like surgery or, you know, or something like that too, your body gets slammed into a hormone shift. And on average, so this is for women who are eating healthy, working out, doing all this stuff, just from having that hormone change, body gains 7 to 10 pounds. Yeah, yikes. Just because of that hormone change. So following a pattern just to keep, you know, that system kind of regular there, that makes a big difference in terms of going through your results too. That combined with the nutrition piece, the carb cycling, the intermittent fasting, right? We layer all these things on top of each other to really get this great results. It's very, very effective. Because again, women who've gone through menopause are like, how do I do this? How does this happen? Yes. Yes. Okay. So it does, yeah. So it does make a difference. Let me go back to this. It does make a difference. But there's a lot of things that you can do still, right? And we still follow through with eating for your cycle and everything that happens there. Also very different mindset behind it too. A lot of times you're told, oh my gosh, you know, you go through menopause, so your hormones are the same, so whatever, it doesn't matter. No, you are still a female and you still have different shifts in hormone. It's just a smaller, but you can still take advantage of it. still take advantage of it. Don't give up on it. That type of a thing. So, yeah, so 12-week program. We are starting April 2nd. So if this is something that's interesting for you, please let me know, because I only take a certain number of women into these groups because I work with them so closely, because I work with each gal so closely to get such a fantastic result and to have things shift and change. My goal is to help women improve and get a better result. And I have found that the best way to do that is through working one-on-one and making the time and space for that. So if you guys want to get started today, there is information on my website. There's information on Facebook that I've put out. One of my favorite quotes is, if you want something you've never had, you have to do something you've never done. Yeah, which is exciting. All right. That is what I have for you ladies tonight. Hopefully you learned something. Again, really focusing on the differences between men and women. So essential, so important to really focus on, because it is important. And this is something that not a lot of women know or focus on. So it makes a big difference. All right. Let me know if you guys have any other questions. Even if you're watching a recording of this and you're thinking, oh my gosh, I forgot about this, or what about this, and you're thinking about later, again, don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than happy to answer questions. If you have questions on what supplements you're taking, things like that, more than happy to answer questions. But all right, that's what I got for you ladies tonight. Thank you for tuning in. I talked a little bit longer than I thought I was going to talk about. Oh, yes. Yep. Yes. Also birth control, things like that. Yes, it does work, because you are still having a shift in hormone if you're on a birth control. Yes. Again, it's a totally different way of thinking about the body, but still important to work with. All right. So thank you guys for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Let me know if you have other questions, but otherwise I will see you guys all later. Bye.